Welcome back to another episode on Journey to Authenticity, a podcast helping you to become fully authentic on your journey to success. I'm your host, Braden Belknap, and I'm a human just like you, striving to build a dream life, all while I stay true to myself. But what if you're in a position of inauthenticity? Maybe you're lacking in relationships, self, business, finances. Or maybe you're winning in one but not the others, and you really feel stuck. That's exactly why I have Keaton Hoskins joining me today, because he's mastered it all. He's winning himself in his spirit, mind, body. He's winning in relationships. He's winning raising his kids. He's winning in business, finances. If you're ready to transform your life, take accountability, look in the mirror, this is the podcast for you so that you can uplift your life and become the person that you're destined to be, so that you can do the things you're destined to do. Keaton, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. The blessing's mine. Just to jump right in, what initially inspired entrepreneurship for you?
To be honest with you, and I have this question a lot, are you born or are you built to be an entrepreneur? I think the answer is both. I think you can be born to be an entrepreneur. I think you can be built to be an entrepreneur. But the truth is that I was born to be an entrepreneur. I could never work for somebody. I wasn't in a place in my life where I could listen and follow rules and follow people. And at a really, really young age, I kind of encompassed a saying, I would rather sink on my own ship than I would sail on somebody else's. And knowing that, that's literally how I started my life. So by the time I was 19, I had started a company. By the time I was 21, I had started a second company. And by the time I was 23, I had launched, I think, my 6th or 7th company. There was just no other option for me. I wasn't good in school, but for me, I was born to be an entrepreneur. I had no other choice, and I just kind of embraced it.
I love that. I was listening to E.T. Do you know who E.T. is?
I know him well.
So he has a speech where he talks about what's the difference between a lion and a giraffe. It's not because the cub was born and then he's just a lion. It's because he went and hunt.
Yeah.
He started to do the things that built him to be a lion.
Yeah.
And you have the blessing of obviously being born a lion. Let's be real.
Absolutely.
And now you're just hunting.
And dude, and even on that, like, that's not to say that you can't become one. You know, a cheetah has to learn to hunt. I mean, any animal in the animal kingdom has to learn to hunt for their food. It's how well you hone in those skills, you know? And so again, that's why I think you really can become an entrepreneur. And that's one of the things that I teach. I actually have a cool program that teaches people how to start or build a business. It's called the Entrepreneur Blueprint Program. And I think those people that come to that are people who weren't born to be an entrepreneur, but they can learn the principles, mindsets, habits, and skills to become one. And what's cool about that is there's a lot of people who were born to be an entrepreneur who didn't do it. And there's people who weren't born to do it who have become it, and it's because they've learned those skills.
Absolutely. So taking it back to your inspiration, when was the moment you realized that you were born to be an entrepreneur?
You know, I had a pretty traumatic experience growing up. My father was always sick, and I always knew he was going to die young. We always talked about it. I always knew that was ultimately the cards for him. And when he died, I was the oldest of 5 siblings, and when he died, I was 21 years old. He actually died in our living room. I was there with him. And some of the last conversations that I had with him ultimately crushed everything that he had taught me growing up. He had taught me, go to school, get a degree, work 9 to 5, work your way up, build a 401k, you know, all of that, the 9 to 5 mentality. And he taught it because he felt there was safety in it. But when my dad died, he was 47. He was actually the CEO of a really big company. And as he got more sick, they ended up getting rid of him. And they ended up showing him that the safe route that you thought is not really the safe route. So the last few weeks of his life was kind of this, like, I know what I taught you, but I don't think it really was the right thing for you. And I realized when he passed away, I realized there's no safety in anything that we do, anything. And that's when I made the decision, like, all in, I'm going to build whatever I want to build. I don't give a shit about what people think I should do, what I should learn, where I should go, who I should work for. I'm ultimately going to build the life that I want to build. And at the end of the day, there's no safety in anything, nothing. And the more that you realize that, the more you realize you literally can build and have anything you want to have. And that's when I fell in love with this idea. Well, I guess I'll just build businesses and I'll be an entrepreneur.
What is up, everybody? I want to take a quick moment to introduce you to this episode's sponsor, Storm Warrior Tactical. I'm beyond blessed to have them as a sponsor of this episode for so many different reasons, but it mostly comes down to when I wear their clothing. It makes me feel as though I can conquer any storm, whether it's within my own mind, my own emotions, my own behaviors, my own bad habits, or whether it's a physical storm in the real world, maybe a hardship in business, career, relationships. When I wear their clothing, it instills a level of confidence that I can do all hard things. And if you're listening to this and you truly align with this show, how we're talking about how to be your best self, how to go conquer and build your dreams, you have to go pick up their swag so that you can feel exactly how I feel when I wear their clothing. That in mind, go to stormwarriortactical.com or the link below. That in mind, back to the show. I love that. We talked about this before the podcast, that oftentimes death or unfortunate circumstances is the propelling effect to transformation.
100%.
And the message today is you don't have to wait for that to happen.
Yeah.
You can choose. You can join a program. You can go actively make the life that you want. It's a choice.
Yeah.
Just as much as you're choosing your bad habits, you can choose the good ones.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the things that you learned in your early years that you still use today?
I'll tell you the things I learned not to do. I realized at a really young age that I was really good at things and I was really bad at other things. And when I started, I thought, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs do this, they think that they have to captain the whole ship and you have to do everything. You know, you don't have enough money to hire the right people. You don't have enough money to invest into the business, all of these things. And I've learned over, from the time I started to now that the things I did wrong was I didn't implement people into the infrastructure to help me to do what I needed to do, what I was good at, and have them do what they were good at. I learned that really quickly. It took me a few years to realize I was doing it wrong. I couldn't understand why I was getting all my businesses to a certain level and then they weren't growing bigger and better than they needed to be. And it was ultimately because I was the bottleneck to my businesses. So learning from a very young age, there's things you're good at. There's things you can become good at, but the things that you're not interested in becoming good at and you're not good at, you need to begin to hire people to put into the infrastructure to allow you to grow to where you need to be. One of the things I realized really early was, dude, you are not organized. You have no organization at all. You fly by the seat of your pants. You're really good at sales. You're good at creating a vision. You're good at building a company, but you're not good with organization and spreadsheets and CPAs and accounting, all that stuff. So what I would say, what I learned from a young age was the things I was doing wrong that I have since implemented into my life. And then I will say this, and this is a really big thing, and it's why I essentially am where I am today. I wish that I would have looked at somebody who had what I wanted and asked them to mentor me to have what they have. I never did that. I took everything on and was like, I'll just figure it out, which by the way it's not a bad mentality, but understanding that you literally, anything, any business, even any company that you work for, you can find people who have done what you want to do and pay them for the speed to do it much, much faster. I genuinely believe if I would have gotten a mentor when I was 21, 22, 23, I genuinely believe today I would be a billionaire. But I didn't. I didn't realize that that was even an option. I didn't even think about that as an option when I was 21, just forging my own path. I didn't think to stop and go, hey, has someone else done it? And if they've done it, maybe I should pay them to help me know how to do it, to avoid the pitfalls, to do it faster. And that's a big thing now that I'm an advocate for, is it's like, listen, I'm not here to push to you that I'm a mentor and you should mentor with me. No. I'm here to push to you to say there is a mentor for every single person that can speed up your success to get to where you want to be. And as soon as you understand that, all you have to do is go, okay, who is it in my life that has what I want? I'm going to ask them to mentor me and I'll pay them whatever it costs, because that will be the price to get this done much, much quicker. Those are the two things I think from then until now that I've really held dear that I think would have been a game changer for me. My goal, when I was 21, my dad passed away. I made a promise to him. I was going to take care of the family. I was going to take care of his wife, my mom. And I had one goal. I wanted to make $1 million by the time I was 30. I want to be a millionaire by the time I was 30. And I made every mistake in the book. I continued to forge down this path of like making a million mistakes. I burned down my first marriage. I was a horrible, horrible person because I was only focused on finances, right? It wasn't until I got into this space that I realized how crucial it is to have somebody to help you to bypass so many things that you ultimately either go through or you learn from somebody else, right? And dude, again, I didn't really hire my first mentor until I was 32. And when I did that, I was like, holy shit, dude, this is information I kind of know, but this is literally what I've been missing the last 10 years of my life. If I would have gotten something like this when I was 22, think about where I would have been. I'd be at a completely different place. And not that I'm not happy where I'm at today. I just would have gotten here much quicker and I would have destroyed a lot less shit getting here if I would have had someone to essentially coach and mentor me through what I learned on my own like an idiot.
Hey, we all got to be an idiot.
Yeah, I'm really good at that.
Well, here's the truth, though. It's good that you're good at that, right? Because you actually can't be great unless you're an idiot to begin with.
100%.
If you're not willing to allow yourself to suck, how can we grow?
No, we can't. And I think that's the biggest fault for most human beings. They're so scared to fail, they don't realize that the failure is the journey to the success. And if you're not willing to fail, you're not willing to take the journey. So either say, I don't want to do the journey, or accept that along the way in the journey is going to be failure after failure after failure, which will teach you over and over and over again what it is you need to do and who you need to become to have that success. But most people never start it because they're so afraid of that failure or that mistake, they never even get past the first one.
Absolutely. So what are you currently being mentored on right now?
So I think there's 3 things that it takes for a human being to be successful: mindset, skill set, and habits. If you want to do anything in life, you need to identify in those 3 what it is that ultimately you need to work on, right? And I think every single human could pick one of those 3. For me right now, the only thing that is left is for me to level up my mindset to get to where I want to be. I have skill sets. I have great habits, which I'll continually get better at. But when you can understand it and believe it, you can achieve it. So if my mind is the only thing that's holding me back from anything I wish to accomplish, then I'm going to attack my mindset. And it's really easy to kind of say that and keep it simple. But the ultimate mindset is abundancy. And when you truly 100% live in abundancy, you literally create anything you want to create. So at the point I'm at in my life now, I look and I say, what else is there for me to create? And there's always things I want to create. The only difference from me getting to there will be the mindset that I take and use to get me there. So for me, I'm literally focused and honed in on I must create a better mindset today, tomorrow, the next day, to get me to be the human being that I need to be to accomplish whatever it is I seek to accomplish.
I love that. So would you say the biggest challenge that you had to overcome in your entrepreneurship ventures was learning to, one, hire out what you suck at or don't want to learn? Or what was the biggest challenge that you had to face for yourself?
I think the hardest thing for me to accept is that me specifically, I'm either the problem or I'm the solution. And the only difference between me getting to where I want to be or not is one of those 3, right? My habits, my skill sets, or my mindset. In the beginning, I would say it was all 3. Absolutely. I needed to hone in my skill sets. I needed to get better in my habits. I needed to change my mindset. But at the end of it, all of it, there's only one common denominator to success. And I realize even now, I'm only that common denominator away from anything that I want to accomplish, and it's discipline. It's only discipline. You could literally walk into a gym and say, hey, do you know what it takes to get in really good shape? Everybody knows. You got to work out, you got to eat, you got to have water, you got to take supplements, you got to be consistent, yada, yada, yada. So even today, I look at my life and I take inventory every day of my life. And I go, what is it that I'm not currently being disciplined in that I must acquire so that I can get to where I want to be? And that's where I'm at now in my life. I take inventory every day of, what did I say I was going to do that I didn't do? What do I know I need to do that I didn't do? And how do I become more disciplined in doing it? Because then I'll accomplish whatever it is I seek.
And what you just said is so simple.
It really is.
Might not be easy.
No, it's easy by word. It's not easy by deed.
Absolutely.
It's really easy to go, hey man, stop eating pizza and stop eating like garbage and go to the gym and drink water. It's so easy to say, right? That's why a 300-pound person that's overweight in the gym can say, I know what it takes. The only reason you hire a trainer is because you need accountability to be disciplined. It's not because you don't know what to do. It's movement, it's eating healthy, it's drinking water. But how disciplined are you? When 9 o'clock rolls around, what are you eating? When it's time to get up and go to the gym, do you go or do you slack off? When you're supposed to work hard in the gym, do you work hard in the gym and stay disciplined, or do you just go and go through the movements? It's only discipline to that which you know you should do. And that's a human error. That's where we err. Even the best of the best, they literally can go through and decide, okay, here's what I know I need to do. How well will I stay disciplined to doing it? And discipline is consistency. You can't work out really hard one day and then see changes. It's discipline to do it day in and day out for the rest of your life.
Amen to that. So was it the divorce that pivoted you over to be fully disciplined, or what was it that took you to get there?
I would love to say I'm fully disciplined. I'm not. If I was, I would be in a much, much different position than I am today. I would say that the divorce woke me up to the idea that I myself was the one that was lacking. It's so easy for us in life to blame everybody else. Blame our spouse for our horrible marriage. Blame our business partner for our shitty business. Blame my employees. Blame the food for why I'm fat. Blame the schools for why I'm stupid. After my divorce, I wrote a book on divorce, actually. And in the book, the whole reason I even wrote the book was for me. It was just therapy for me. And while I was like putting it together, I realized like, dude, you are your problem. I looked in the mirror and I realized like everything you want is through you, and you haven't been doing it. You've looked at everybody else. The divorce was her fault. My family was their fault. It was never me. And after my divorce was the first time in my life I looked in the mirror and I said, you know what, dude? You're the problem, but you're also the solution. And that changed everything in my life, everything. When I took complete ownership and said, you know what, dude? You are the author of everything that you want. No one gets to dictate your life. No one gets to tell you what you want to do. It's you. And no one else has control of your success. 0 people. Once I accepted that and I took 100% ownership, everything began to change. And then I focused all of my work on myself. One of my favorite philosophers, teachers, if you will, Jim Rohn, he said, the day my life changed was the day I realized that if I would work twice as hard on myself as I do on my business, I will create the life that I want. Not just the money, but the life that I want. And that spoke so harshly to me because I realized I had built my business, I had built all of my skills, I'd done all these things, but I hadn't focused on building me. And one of the biggest reasons why the theme of even Limitless Society, my coaching program, is you must become the best version of yourself, because that version creates everything that you currently want and will want one day. Well, then I should focus on myself. And that's, again, when everything changed. So even now, I savagely focus on me and building me and doing everything I can to develop me, and then everything else falls in line, everything.
It's beautiful, man. So in such a public role and killing it in business. What are your processes that allow you to stay fully authentic to yourself, your life, and all the desires you have?
I think the greatest thing that a man or a woman can do in life is learn to let go completely of everyone's opinions and thoughts and desires and feelings. I think most people, even in today's society, are so consumed by what other people think of them, good or bad, that everything they do in their life is dictated by it. And so for me, I was in a place in my life where I was, just like everyone else, consumed by what people thought of me, what they said about me, what they, ultimately said my story was. And it consumed me to the point where I realized, like, I'm either going to die or I'm going to let go completely. And so I think to become truly authentic, which, by the way, very, very few people will ever become truly authentic. It's a very rare thing. You have to learn to let go completely of what other people think or say about you. And here's the thing. A lot of people say, oh yeah, don't worry about the haters. Forget the haters. You always say, fuck the haters, right? Here's the thing. When you truly let go, it's not about the haters. It's about everyone. I'm not a huge fan of Gary Vee, but he says something that I think is really cool. He says, as soon as you let go of the compliments and the insults, that's when you've truly let go of what other people think. And I was like, dude, I've been focusing on the haters. I should also be focused on compliments and everything that everybody says that's good about me. Because if it moves me in a compliment, it will move me in an insult. If I can get into a place in my life where your compliment means nothing to me and your insult means nothing to me, I'm free 100% to be authentically me and not concerned about what anybody else thinks. And that's when you really get into that form of like, hey, this is who I am. I don't give a shit if you don't like it. I don't even give a shit if you love it. This is who I am, and I'm not moving from who this person is. That freeing moment allows you to become authentic as shit, and that's when things really change in your life.
That's powerful. So here's in some background history, right? When you're born, you're immediately told who to be and what to do for you. You essentially have your plan life out for you in quotations. I understand your dad was in a 9-to-5. I'm sure your mom did some things in her life to quote unquote program you. How did you break free from all of that? That's a loaded question.
No, but it's a great question, because if you're listening to this, then you're saying, okay, so I need to completely let go of what people think. How do I do that? And that's a good question. The reality is even those people who say that they're not usually are, right? I would start by letting go of what people think good of you. So many people do it the reverse end. They're like, just stop worrying about the haters. Stop worrying about the haters. And then they get so focused on, well, I'm not going to listen to what people say when they talk shit on me, but they're still so focused on enjoying the praise. They're still stuck to what people think of them, right? And the only way to do that is to find in yourself all the validation from within. Everything must be validated from within. And that starts at a level that most people cannot comprehend. And every time I say this, I always get people that get really upset. I ask the question, who do you love the most? And most people say, well, I love God, and then I love my spouse, and then I love my family. How long down that list until you say I love myself? And the reality is that for you to be true to yourself, you must love who that is above everyone else. One of the greatest scriptures, and people, when I say this, they quote this scripture, they say, hey, what's the greatest commandment? Well, it's to love God, and then it's to love your neighbor, but they never finish the scripture. The scripture says, love God, and then love your neighbor as thyself. So what he's really teaching is the metric is you to love God as much as you and to love your neighbor as much as you. So you should be placed first, not second, not third. Self-love is the only pathway to authenticity. If I don't love myself, I can't be authentic to who I'm being. I just can't. When you fall in love with yourself above everything else, and I know that's kind of crazy, especially for somebody who has a wife and 5 children, to say, hey, if you ask me who I love the most, I would tell you it's me. It's not my wife. It's not my God. It's not my children. Because what I have to give comes from me and it starts with me. I always tell people, dude, if your self-love is filled like this bottle, that's how much you have to give to your wife, to your God, to your kids. So why wouldn't I focus on filling that the most? And that's you. So if you ask, what does it take to do that? It's self-love. Which again goes back to self-work, right? You should be in a place in your life where you can stand on your own 2 feet and say, you know who I love the most? It's me. And everyone else gets a piece of me and that love because I have so much to give from myself. And when you find that self-love, you can begin to find that self-validation. So a great example is I speak all over just like you, and sometimes I crush it and sometimes I don't do well, you know? And every time I get off the stage, I have people come to me very emotional. You changed my life. That was the greatest speech. That was this. It was wonderful. When I step off that stage, you know, the only person that I want to know who validated that speech is me. And I don't care if you thought my speech was wonderful, if in myself, I don't think that it was good enough, if I don't validate it. And it's the same thing when someone comes to me and says, hey, I think you're a piece of shit. I think you're a scammer. I think you're a liar. I would go back to my own self-validation and say, is what they're saying true? Do I believe that? And if I don't believe it, it doesn't matter what they say, good or bad. That's how you begin to let go completely of everybody else's opinions of yourself. It's through self-love that gives you self-validation. The only person you should always be checking with to become authentic is you. It's no one else. If I go to you and I say, well, what do you think I should be? What do you think I should say? There's no authenticity in it. There just isn't. So when I find self-love, I find self-validation, and there is no one else in this world that can validate me enough to be better than my own validation. And that's when everything changes in my life.
Amen. I mean, you're just adding value upon value. You cannot love anyone or anything as much as you love yourself. My assumption is that the people that love themselves the most are mostly connected to God the most.
Yes.
Connected to their wife the most, connected to their family the most, because they started with themselves, period.
That's also the reason why marriages fail, because you go into a marriage hoping for validation from somebody else, and you don't get it because you didn't give it to yourself. It's the reason why friendships end. It's the reason why partnerships end. It's the reason why people fake so much, because they're trying so hard to seek validation from outside rather than seeking it from within. And as soon as you build that inside of you, you don't need shit from anyone. And that's ultimately when you become that truly authentic version of yourself.
And the one thing I want to point out that you said is you actually realize where you can grow. That is self-love. You also see where you do good. That is self-love. Self-love isn't about this whole thing that I love myself as is. No, that's bullshit. You need to love yourself for where you are and where you are going, and you need to realize the lack that you have right now so that you can get there.
And what's so cool, and I know we're circling back, but this is why it's all connected, the greatest form of self-love is discipline to the commitments that you make. So when you find someone who's truly disciplined, you find someone who's truly self-loved. Because that is ultimate. That's the greatest form of self-love. So when someone destroys themselves, when they don't keep their commitments, when they're addicted to something, when they're controlled by other things, and they say, oh yeah, I love myself. No, you don't. The greatest form of self-love is discipline. So you don't. And that's when, again, all of this kind of encompasses and goes all the way back to like, dude, these are the simple principles to get you to where you want to be, which again is why it's so important that you work on yourself more than you do on anything else.
I connect self-love and confidence together.
Absolutely.
Self-love and confidence is simply keeping your word to yourself and others.
Yeah.
Are you eating the food right now that you said you weren't going to eat? Doesn't sound like self-love to me.
No, not at all. It's self-sabotage.
Absolutely.
And that's why it's so funny. I see like really, really fat, out of shape people that, oh, I am all about self-love. No, you're not, dude. You're destroying your body and you're not disciplined to the things you know you should be doing. You're masking self-love with insecurity, and it's bleeding through as I'm trying to be something that I'm not. No human being on this planet is eating like shit and feels like shit and says they love themselves. You can't. It doesn't work that way. You may accept where you're at, but acceptance is not self-love. It's not. Well, you know, I'm fat, but I'm just accepting who I am. No, man. You must, through discipline, show yourself self-love.
And you said something, I'm just fat. Whatever follows after I am, you're attaching to your identity. You will forever be a fat person if you're saying, I am a fat person, and I'm okay with that. Yeah. You'll be fat for the rest of your life, and you'll probably die young, and turns out you'll probably influence your kids to follow that same journey unless they choose to be a victor of their own life. 100%. And why would you want to impact your kids that way?
Which is really a good why. That's one of the things that I teach with people. When the why is powerful, the how doesn't matter. And when you start to have kids and you have a marriage, there's a lot of whys that come into your life. And I hope most people would see that and go, that's my why, and my why has now become more powerful. I don't care what the how is. The why is so powerful, I'll get everything else done.
And the one call out that I'll make here is proximity is a big deal. So if you're fat, go to the gym. Yeah. Start somewhere. If you're poor, go to a networking event, even if you have to serve water. It doesn't matter. Just get into proximity with what is possible so you can start to see it within your own capabilities.
Yeah. It's a cliche saying, but you're the sum total of the 5 people you spend time with. If I spend time with 5 shitheads, I'm going to be a 6th shithead. If I spend time with 5 millionaires, I'm going to be the 6th millionaire. If I spend time with 5 really in shape people, I'm going to be the 6th. It really is like you're the sum total of the people you spend the most time with.
Absolutely. And to call that out, you don't have to be in the room with me and you right now to listen to this.
No.
You can start to get into proximity when you're not even at that level to get into that proximity. Yeah. Just start. Yep. It's the choices, right?
Choices.
Are you going to keep choosing this life that's not serving you and your family, or are you going to start choosing the right things for you and your family?
Absolutely.
So more of an interesting topic to sidetrack. You went to see Donald Trump.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. I saw that, and I think it's insane that social media completely blocked you. That was crazy.
I'm still dealing with that.
How was that experience?
It was cool. I've met him a few times. We had dinner, did a few things. He actually has asked me to come and help with some of his team with mentoring some things, and he's a really great individual. You know, you talk about proximity. He invited me out to that event. I think everybody there's paid a lot of money to be there. He invited me out, and then he invited me back to a room where there was I think there was 12 of us. And I'm sitting in this room with Donald Trump, Glenn Beck, Papa John's, the governor of Utah, senators. I mean, dude, and by 30 years, I was the youngest person there. And I looked around and I was like, I don't know how I'm in this room, but this is definitely the room that I want to be in because these are well-to-do people. But I had a really, really great experience with him. I know people have mixed emotions about him, but you talk about somebody with self-love, he doesn't give a shit what people think because he only cares about the validations from within. That's why he handles the hate so much, and so well. Because, again, he encompasses a lot of the things that we're talking about. And it was really cool to be around somebody that's that successful in doing the things that I teach. It was a really, really cool experience.
And just to point out, we talk about authenticity, right? Choosing who you want to be, choosing how you want to show up in life and going after it. Yeah. He doesn't have to be there.
No. He said that in the meeting. He's like, I really should be on a yacht somewhere just sipping margaritas, and yet here I am. He's like, the reason I'm here is because this really is what I need to be doing, and there's a lot of evil in the world, and I'm hoping to change it. Which, again, I'm not, and I even said it to him, I'm not Republican or Democratic. I don't really even believe in being a part of anything because I have my own beliefs. You're not going to tie me to a group that has their beliefs and say that those are my beliefs. But looking at it, when I look at the 2 candidates that we have right now, it's very apparent who is a leader, who has their shit together, who can actually get things done and who can't. And that's one of the reasons why I was there. It's one of the reasons why I've pushed to help him in any way that we can. I think we're supposed to go see him in 10 days in Arizona. He is definitely someone who encompasses a lot of the things that I teach to get to where people want to be.
And an example, a true leader, somebody that we need to show the new generation coming up of what is possible.
Absolutely.
So with that, what is next for you? Personal, business, what's the next big thing for you?
You know, it's funny. I was actually, I do a lot of events, and I just did an event in Cabo, and I made everybody in the room talk about their goals and what they want to accomplish. And then somebody asked me, they're like, hey, we told you our goals, and what's next? What is it for you? And as lame as it sounds, it's to continue doing exactly what I'm doing, which is living the life that I want, doing what I want, how I want, continue with my family, growing my marriage. And ultimately, if I like label the goal out, it's to have as many people in limitless society as possible. I genuinely believe that limitless society can change people's lives. I genuinely believe that. And so for me, that means I need to go much harder to reach the masses. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people can learn and grow to become the greatest version of themselves. And that's what I'm cultivating in that program. That's what I want to focus on. Like, what's next? It's to continue to grow what I'm ultimately growing, which is the society, the limitless society. But like, as for big goals, I don't have any right now. I mean, I look at my life in so much gratitude as for where I'm at. And I'm like, dude, you're doing everything you ever said you wanted to do. There's not some big vision or big goal anymore. It's like you're literally in the best place you've ever been. Not to say I'm not going to continue to progress, make more money, be more successful, become more famous, have a better marriage, have a better family, because I'm obsessed with progression. But man, I don't have that underlining, like, what's your next big goal? I don't know, man. I'm at a place most people could only dream of, and that's having the exact life that they've ever wanted. It would almost feel to me without gratitude to say, well, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. I stay hungry. I'm not saying I'm not hungry to be more successful, but where I am today is in such an amazing place all across the board that it's like, I don't know, keep growing, keep progressing in everything that I'm currently growing and progressing in.
I feel like there's actually a lot of power in that, simply because there's a lot of shiny obstacle syndrome, whatever you call it, in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
How many times does an entrepreneur actually get in an amazing vehicle, their business, and 2 years later they give up?
All the time. And it's actually not that they give up. This is what I see the most, because this is what I mentor on. I get to mentor a lot of business owners one-on-one. I get to help a lot of people in the program. It's so funny. I see this happen a lot. They get into one vehicle that makes them semi-successful, and they automatically go, what's next? What do I add to my portfolio? And then they launch and do other things. And what's so frustrating is, instead of buckling down and going twice as hard on what made them successful, they start to take on new ventures. And usually, and I would say usually, they end up taking the money and the success that they had from the one vehicle and dumping it into another that is not successful. They split their time and their energy into both, and neither of them become successful. So my advice, and I always have this conversation, it's like, dude, what got you here in this success? Why wouldn't you double down on this rather than find another business and another business and another investment opportunity? Why not do what has made you successful and do it 10 times harder? And usually it's an epiphany for people. They're like, wow, I guess you're right. Yeah. Hell yeah, man. Burn this thing up. Let's go. And then when you're ready to be done, sell it and take all that money and then go start some other things. But why take from the vehicle that's making you successful and not double down on it and take it and put it into something else? And again, you talk about, it's like a dog chasing a squirrel. They're like, well, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. No, man, put horse blinders on. This is what makes you successful. Continue to do this and do it 10 times harder than you're currently doing it and see 10 times more success. Most people don't do that.
Usually comes down to the authenticity thing.
Yeah.
Man, I'm going to be enough when I do this now.
Yeah.
I'm going to be enough. No, you calm down.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath and go execute.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that, did you ever run into that in your life?
Oh yeah, that's what I had that's what I was doing in the beginning of my life. I took the shotgun approach. I was like, let's start this business and this business and this business and this business. And listen, I always am honest with people. I've never had a business, or I shouldn't say now, but in my earlier years, I never had a business that did over $10 million in revenue. Because as soon as it would start to do well and make me some income, I'd go to the next and I'd do the next and I'd start the next. I've started 45 plus companies in the last 15 years. Well, guess what? If I would have done one company with all of that energy, I probably would have exited for 50, 60, 70 million dollars rather than building 10 companies that all made $1 million. So I realized in that, like, that's why I teach, like, dude, become a sniper. Don't do the whole shotgun thing, especially if you're at a nice peak in your business where you're making good money and you're getting your time. Well, what's next? Dude, double down. Build that thing. Continue to grow it until you get to 50, 60, $100 million. Don't focus on anything else. And for me, that shotgun approach is really what hurt me in the beginning. Because if I would have built 1, 2, 3 of these companies and went hard onto 1 or 2 or 3 of these rather than build 10, 15, 20 companies, I'd be in a different place even today.
Sure would have caused for a lot less stress as well.
A lot less stress. Absolutely. But, part of entrepreneurship, and those who are very, very successful in entrepreneurship are usually ADHD, which I am. So I'm always like, okay, well, I lost interest in that. Let's go to something else. Let's do something else. And it's like, dude, you're an idiot. Hone in on what you're doing and go harder down this path and watch how much more successful you become.
Absolutely. ADHD is a superpower.
Absolutely. I tell people that all the time. I speak to youth a lot, and the last youth event I was at was like a month ago, and one of the kids raised his hand and said, how do you deal with ADHD? And I said, you don't. You unleash it. It's a superpower. Like, anybody who's told you otherwise is feeding you full of shit. My success today is because of my ADHD. That was 100% a superpower, not a disability. I just needed to learn how to regulate it and hone it in, which most people don't. When it goes unchecked and unregulated, then you're all over the place. That's when you need to realize, like, dude, I can actually get a lot of things done way more than most people because I can focus on more things than just one thing at a time. Most people can't do that. And that's, again, it's just a quick mindset shift of like, this is a superpower, not a disability. Let's go hard at this.
So the person listening to right now, like, man, this has been a limit for me for so long. How did you find that and turn it into a superpower for yourself?
You're talking about ADHD specifically. Realize that every single human being was created to do something more powerful than even they believe. As soon as you accept that you were created to be powerful and more powerful than you ultimately are, you realize that God gave you specific tools, attributes, and traits to be successful at something. Stop leaning into the idea that I'm weak here and I'm weak here and I'm weak here, and lean into the idea of I'm strong here, I'm strong here, and I'm strong here. Identify those things and then lean into those strengths, and in those strengths, realize your weaknesses, hire the people for those weaknesses, and watch how you flourish. And that's ultimately what I couldn't figure out when I was, 21, 22, 23 years old. I just kept trying to do it and go, man, why do I suck at this? Why do I suck at this? And if again, you're listening to it like, man, the first thing you should do to become a powerful human being is identify where you are powerful. Identify your strengths. Don't identify your weaknesses. Identify your strengths and then lean into those. Do the things that move the needle. If you're good at sales, then do sales. If you're good at accounting and organization, then do that. Whatever it is, and we talk about being authentic, be authentic to what your strengths are. Lean into them. And then build infrastructure around your weaknesses, and that's when you ultimately accomplish the things you want.
What is up, everybody? Another quick pause before we end this amazing podcast is to go grab your Storm Warrior tactical clothing. They just came out with a new drop. Two of my favorites is this hoodie, as well as this shirt that on the back says, "The fearless Savior has risen." Just a reminder is the fact that when you wear this clothing, you don't just think you can conquer anything. You feel it, which naturally empowers you to become your best self, to go accomplish your dreams. This time, this moment, this week, this month, next year is your time if you make it happen. And when you're aligned with companies like Storm Warrior Tactical, it only influences your ability to make it happen. With that in mind, go to stormwarriortactical.com or the link below and go get your swag today. Back to the show. I love it. So with that in mind, I have a couple more quick rapid fire questions and we can drag them on as well. One is, what is your true definition of an authentic life?
True definition of an authentic life is living the way that you want without the influence of what other people think. When you can step back and say, is this the life that I created that I wanted? Or step back and say, is this the life that somebody else told me I should have?
Absolutely.
And when you can identify that, you can live it, right? I would tell you, my mom is a great example because we always talk about this. She's like, man, I spent so much time trying to like cornhole you into this person I thought you needed to be. And I realized what I should have done is cultivated who you wanted to be. And ultimately, not by her choice, I became this version of myself and this authentic version. And I have zero apologies for who I am. I just don't care, you know? And so that, to me, again, I think if you were to define it, it would be, am I living the way that I want, how I want, when I want, or is it dictated by the opinions and thoughts of other people?
Powerful. And one more question alongside that. So obviously you're married, have an amazing relationship. You have your kids, you have friends, all these phenomenal people. We talk about really cutting through the bullshit and validating yourself of what you need to grow into and where you're actually executing in a good manner. How do you even block out the voices of the people that have big influence and the ones you love the most?
I would tell you I don't block them out. I don't even allow them to have any influence at all. It's funny. I have, 6, 7 million followers now on social media. And on every one of my accounts, I probably follow a total of 2,000 or 3,000 people. I don't give a shit about what other people are doing. I don't care at all. Like, it was great to spend time with Donald Trump. He's awesome. I know the election's coming up. I don't really care. I don't care who gets called to be the president. It doesn't really affect me. I don't care about what my neighbor's doing, how much money he's making. I literally don't care. So blocking it out is not even really an option. I just don't care about it. I'm so focused on myself and what I want and where I want to grow and what I want to do that I don't really look at any of that. It's funny, my wife every day is like, did you see this? Did you see this? And I'm like, no, where'd you see that? Well, it was on their story. It was on their post. I'm like, no, I don't. I never look at it. I don't care. None of that matters to me. Like, I don't care what people are doing. I don't, good or bad, successful or not. I don't give a shit at all. So I'm never in a place of like, oh man, this person's doing better than me. I really should do better. Or this person's doing this, or this person's like, it's not even a thought that crosses my mind. And even, I know this isn't great, but even like my close friends, I don't care. Like, I don't watch the stories of my closest friends. Like, they'll be like, hey, did you see this? I'm like, no, man, I haven't watched your story today. I don't, I just don't care. I don't care to keep up with information that doesn't necessarily matter to me at all or doesn't affect me at all. Right? So it's not a block. It's that I just don't give a shit about it. It's not even ignoring. If it's not in my line of sight, I just don't care about it.
Absolutely. I laugh because my wife's the same way. Yeah. Did you get all the details? No, it doesn't matter. It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
So I love that.
I've learned that you only have so much up here space-wise. And when I focus on details that don't matter, I cloud this with things that I don't want. I don't care what people are doing in their life. I don't care what date is what date. I don't care about any of that shit. Everything that's on my site is exactly where I'm going and what I want. I don't even have enough time or width in my network to focus on information or details that don't matter.
Absolutely. Now, the last question is, if there was one last message you could leave for the 25-year-old entrepreneurs out in the world, what would that be?
Maybe a simple message. If your eyes could be opened and you could see how powerful you really, really are, you would work much harder to go after what you really want. The lives that are affected by your success in everything, I'm not talking about success in money, I'm talking about success in everything. The lives that are ultimately changed in your success are astronomical. And if you could see, like I said, if you could open your eyes to the masses and realize that you're a more powerful human being than even you understand, you would savagely seek to become that human being. And here's what is so dope. This is why I named my coaching group Limitless Society. Every single human on this planet is limitless in whatever they want to accomplish. But the first step is accepting that you are limitless. There is no such thing as a limit. There really is not. Any limit you have created in your mind. And once you realize that, you can completely let go of any limiting belief that you have. And for most people, again, it's like, well, I'm only so good. I'm only able to accomplish this. I'm only capable of this. And that's a lie, 100%. Any human being can become anything they want, can have anything they want, can build anything they want. and be truly limitless. And the reason I believe that is because I believe in a God. I believe that we're his children, and that means we are heir to him. And if I'm heir to a God, then what limit do I really have? There isn't one, except for that which I put on myself, or my parents put on me, or my peers put on me. So spend the rest of your life breaking limiting beliefs in the idea that you are much more powerful than you actually believe right now, currently.
I've never heard that. You are heir to God. That is powerful. You know how many times I've heard in my life, well, if I was only born in that family.
Yeah.
No, you're heir to God. Go get it.
100%. One of the reasons I fly helicopters, why I love helicopters so much, is I always think about in the 1800s when some dude was like, I want to fly with birds. And everybody around him was like, you can't do that. That's stupid. You can't do that, right? And ultimately, because he continued down that path of that belief, today I get to put my family in a vehicle and go fly with birds. And the only reason that happened is because somebody believed there was no such thing as limitations. Can you imagine that kind of crazy conversation? It's the same crazy conversation that Elon Musk had when he says, I'm going to land on Mars and we're going to have people living on Mars. Nobody believed that shit. Everybody told him there's no way, there's too many limits, there's no way, you can't do it. And again and again and again, he has shown there's no limitations. It's just time and education. That's all it is. So if I believed that, then everything I've ever wanted, I can have. Everything. It's just time and education to get there. And so again, like my message for the young entrepreneur is, man, understand you are way more powerful than you believe. Do whatever you have to do. Pay whoever you have to pay. Do whatever needs to be done to encompass a mindset that there is no limitations on this earth. There's zero. Only those that you've set because of other people, because of what they've said, because of what you've learned this far. Spend the rest of your time breaking that and watch what you really accomplish.
Yeah, if there's a guy out there dreaming about, and not just dreaming, making it happen to have 1 million people on Mars by 2055, I think it is.
And he's going to accomplish it.
Why the hell can't you accomplish your goals?
And dude, everybody, the scientist, everybody's like, it's not possible. You can't do it. And he's laughing at them. And those who literally accomplish whatever, they just believe that they can. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall when this guy in the 1800s was like, we're going to build a machine that flies with birds. Every single human around him thought he was crazy, stupid. Every person believed he was an idiot because of their own limiting beliefs. He was the only person, I guarantee it, in that room that was like, no, we're going to build something. I don't even know what it's going to be called, but we're going to build something that we can fly with birds. And now today we do.
Absolutely.
There's no limitations.
Zero. Well, coming to an end, how can me and my community be supporting you?
You know, dude, I don't need support from anybody, but one thing that I really love is anybody who connects with me and or my message is to become a part of Limitless Society. It's with thousands and thousands of people in the group. The reason why I always push this is I want people in the group that encompass the shit that I just talked about. I don't want everybody. I definitely don't want everybody. I want those who want to become better, be a better version of themselves, lose limiting beliefs, become limitless, accomplish whatever, change their life, become the greatest version of them. If that's you, I want you in Limitless Society. That's it. Like when people ask me what they can do, help me build this thing. We've got thousands. I want hundreds of thousands of people there because I want to have a group of hundreds of thousands of people on this planet that want nothing more than to become the greatest version of themselves, help everyone else around them become that, accomplish whatever they want to accomplish. And I want to put them all together so that they can grow and grow and grow. And then we don't have one Elon Musk. We got 20 of those. We don't have one guy building a helicopter. We got 20 of those. Everybody who wants to accomplish something, because we said it earlier, proximity is everything. I want to build that group because that's the proximity that I've built and cultivated to give to the world.
Love it. Thanks so much for coming on.
Absolutely, man.
Thank you so much for listening to the Journey to Authenticity podcast. If you liked what both myself and Keaton had to offer today, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. So this will help me ensure the highest quality and most interesting guests to help you transform your life so that you can become the most authentic individual and create the most authentic life that you truly deserve. Also, why I have you here, if you have a team, you have a company, you're running retreats, seminars, masterminds, you name it. and you're ready to bring a new, fresh, transformative message, go ahead and go to my website or the link below and have me come speak at your event. That in mind, have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody.